The deck out in the back. A father and son were having a beer on the deck out in the back. It'd barely been a little over a year since his son had returned from the fighting in Iraq. And the father was quietly thinking, as he sat there in his chair, of just how much their lives had changed since his son was over there. His son came home a hero, for he'd won a Purple Heart. But in the making of a hero, it had torn both their lives apart. He thought of how he heard the news from out there in Iraq, that his son had lost an arm that day in a mortar bomb attack. And he thought of all the nights he prayed together with his wife that they would see their son again. Somehow God would spare his life. And he thought of just how hard it must be to lose a daughter or a son. And he gave thanks and praise to God for sparing his boy, for he and his wife only had the one. Then he thought of his son's young buddies who were still fighting over there, and he closed his eyes and he bowed his head as he said a silent prayer. But his prayers were interrupted when he heard his son say, "Dad, I know just what you're thinking, and I know why you're so sad." He said, "I know that you've been praying, but please don't pray for me. Pray for all the loved ones that we've lost, and the parents and the children never again will see." He said, "I consider it a blessing I survived that bomb attack, for I only lost my arm out there. Many of my greatest buddies never ever made it back." Then his son got up from his chair. They went to pour a beer. He waited for the question that he knew he'd have to hear. Then finally came the question that he had waited for, when the father quietly asked his son, "Do you think America can ever really win this war?" The son said, "That's a tough one, Dad, but I know deep down in my heart that the only way we can ever hope to win this war is if the Iraqis play their part. If the Sunnis, Shiites and the Kurds together can unite, they'll fight against Al-Qaeda, then we can maybe win this fight. If they can all get round the table and treat each other as a friend," he said, "maybe then and only then, this war will finally end." Then the son changed the conversation to happier days long before Iraq. And the father and son gave thanks and praise for his chance to have a beer together on the deck out in the back.